Hi, my name is Brittany King, and I serve as the Senior Marketing Associate for the National Benevolent Association. I'm so excited to introduce this video series to you. I sat down with Dr. Norma Ellington Twitty and Reverend Monica Wedlock Kilpatrick for a dynamic conversation about NBA's history, equity and inclusion, leadership, and the importance of NBA's work both inside and outside the walls of the church. This video also marks a bit of a passing of the torch moment. In 1985, Dr. Twitty became the first Black woman to serve in a leadership role at NBA. She was the VP of Program Planning and Evaluation. Monica and Norma get into this more during their discussion, but Norma's time at NBA opened the door for other women of color to see themselves working at NBA as well, including Reverend Kilpatrick, who joined NBA in 2015 and now serves as the VP of Organizational and Leadership Development. I am so excited for you all to watch and hear this conversation, and I really hope you enjoy it.
What would you say that you all's leadership styles are, and how does it affect how you approach your work?
Sure. I think, though my nature tends to be an introvert and I can work all alone, right? I actually enjoy collaboration. I think that is the piece that when I'm able to work with a team to hear all of the ideas come together, to bounce things off of one another. I really appreciate those opportunities and giving space for my team to be able to shine, for them to be able to use their creativity, their resource, their gifting, and be able to lean and trust into that. I think that very much defines my leadership style. We talk a lot at MBA about coming alongside, walking alongside folks. And I think that's partly why that particular core value speaks so much to me. That's who I feel like I've always been.
Well, I can identify with a number of things that you said. In many ways, I was a very introverted person in many ways. And there are times now I can be in my study for hours and just lose track of time in terms of the projects I'm working on. But because I was an African-American woman in a high-level position at NBA, and we were going through a lot of institutional change, a lot of change in terms of affirmative action, in terms of program quality, a lot of new things that employees had to go through. And I feel like I tried to take what I called a collegial team approach as well. I really know that most people don't like change. Well, we've always done it this way. And here comes this department saying, well, now we're going to be doing it this way. So I tried to be strategic in terms of involving other departments in some of the new changes that our department was responsible for. I too like to get ideas and support from others. And I think we're stronger and more creative. We had to be creative. We were forging a new path, a new department, new ways of doing things. So the more input you get, the better. So there was respect for people, that it was difficult to change, but also a moving forward as a team, and it did work.
Sticking to the topic of leadership, I wonder what the earliest memory that you all have of leadership, and specifically if there's a person that has been in your life that you would associate, like, you know what, that's what a leader is, or that's the type of leader that I'd like to be.
Well, before we started this conversation, Norma and I made a connection that we have, and I would say that is one of the major persons in my life, and the person of Reverend Dr. Cynthia L. Hale, senior pastor, founding pastor of Ray of Hope Christian Church in Decatur, Georgia. It really was my moment in finding Ray of Hope and seeing a woman pastor who founded a church and who walked in confidence and boldness, who was prayerful and discerning. And Norma, you mentioned earlier, strategic, right? In how to do the work of ministry, and a master administrator.
Yeah.
One who could really inspire people and also had a high level of excellence within herself. And so she inspired you even from the pew. And so that's what I see in leadership. That's who I think of often. I mean, certainly I think of my family, I think of my mom and others, but when I think of ministry in the church and how to lead, and anyone that knows her knows it wasn't easy. As a woman, clergy, as a Black woman, clergy, as a Black woman founding a church in the South. All of those complexities and leading with grace and integrity in the midst of all that came at her, profoundly carved a place in my heart and helped me to think about who I wanted to be. How did I want to show up in spaces? What did I want people to know about me and how to take me seriously in ministry and then in life? Came from her. So I say thank you. Hopefully if she sees this to publicly once again just thank her for all that she has been and continues to be in leading out front, and in particular for Black women and Black women in ministry.
My first and best example of leadership was my dad, Norman Sims Ellington. He was very active in the church in the 50s and 60s. Locally, regionally, and nationally. Many people in the church remember him as the architect for the Mother to Mother program, a program that started in the Christian church, but was adopted by a wide range of denominations. I can't tell you how many people in airports and planes who heard my name Ellington and said, "Are you related to Norm Ellington, Mother to Mother?" But Daddy designed Mother to Mother to bring middle-class white women with welfare mothers, having them come together and form a friendship bond that was mutually beneficial. It wasn't the white woman coming in saving the Black woman. It was women coming together, helping each other to be better parents and citizens and the like. And there are many good things, of course, that happen to these welfare mothers because middle-class people started to advocate and do other things for them. But Daddy's philosophy in terms of racial reconciliation was forming a human bond, having that personal experience and having the love of Christ bring us together. One of my favorite quotes from him is, "To be free in Christ is to be free to love across racial and economic lines."
I actually want to speak about a few specific names. Bill Gibble, Rick Lance, Mark Anderson. These are all individuals who in the past and currently have led ministries at NBA. And I'm wondering if there is a quality or characteristic that you would name about them that contributes to their strength as a leader. Norma, I want to start with you for this question.
Okay. Well, of course, the leader that you mentioned that I knew the best is Richard Lance. I worked for him for 10 years, and working for him, I think, made me a better leader. But a word that comes to mind with Rick is how strategic he was in using his influence as president. He was also an expert in articulating a common mission and vision for employees that they could connect to, and then using that bond to connect them to new initiatives that would indeed help us better achieve our mission. NBA in many ways had a very bad reputation at the time that I was involved with it in terms of race and diversity. There were many people in the African American community who even criticized me for working for NBA because of how bad their record was. And my message is if we can get on the inside, hopefully this can make a difference. So anyway, when I started with NBA, Rick had a 5-year affirmative action plan, which stated that the individual units. And at that time, NBA was vast. I mean, over 80, what we call units or whatever, children, developmentally disabled, older adults, you know, the old NBA. But anyway, each one of those facilities was to have 20% minority participation on boards, employees, and residency. And the other thing that I think that works really quite well is that for the annual report of a unit, they had to report their affirmative action statistics. And as they got better, they were acknowledged. So there was really friendly competition between units to do well on affirmative action. So what was initially dreaded and seemingly impossible was possible. And in those 5 years within the denomination, NBA went from worst to first and was acknowledged by the convocation for their work in the area of affirmative action. And this is something you all don't think about now, but back in the day, these were some of the pioneering things that were done that could provide the foundation for you guys to be where you are today. And it was exciting and instructional to see how a leader could do that the way Rick did. I just relish the number of folks who came on board, African Americans in particular, who came to love the organization and contribute to it, because it's always had a wonderful mission. It's evolved from certainly the facility-driven organization it was before, but NBA is just an absolute phenomenal treasure within the Christian church in terms of serving those in need and all of the wonderful new programs you're doing. When I was at NBA, I focused on community-based programs actually, because I knew the trend was away from facility-driven, but our emphasis was mainly with children and families, early intervention. But you've obviously expanded way beyond that. But it's all a part of an organization that's always had a wonderful, caring mission, and with great leadership, absolutely great leadership. And of course, Rick, as I said, is the one I knew the best.
One, it's always good to hear the shoulders you stand upon. And so I know that I'm standing on your shoulders and your good work. But I also, as I was listening to you talk about Rick Lance, and I didn't have a chance to know him. I didn't know, like you said, you didn't know NBA before, you know, being introduced. I didn't either. So pastors in our communities that then make those connections for us. And so Mark was the first president I knew of for NBA. Mm-hmm. But I think what I heard in your story and what one of the things that calls out to me in terms of Mark's leadership is this commitment to justice and advocacy, this commitment to expanding opportunities and to pull in diverse people into the work, whether it's the work of the NBA staff or the work of the ministries that we serve and accompany. The opportunities, the encouragement that he offers for us to do that, for, you know, standing out there. Anyone that knows him and watches him on Twitter and Facebook, you know he is ever present, raising the issues that folks are fighting for. And I think that's one of the things I most respect. It's easy, I think, to be a leader and to be a leader of an organization and to not be so boldly out front. Mm-hmm. And he is. And so I think that for me creates space to also be boldly out front and know that you're not alone. Mm-hmm. I've also watched the diversity of our staff grow. And I think that's a commitment of Mark's that I so appreciate. I think he's also continuously learning. And so he inspires you to continuously learn new things and bringing, as I mentioned, bringing so many together. He's a connector. When we used to laugh at Mark and say, you have the woo, you come with the woo, you know how to go out and you're the people person, you're the expert, the extrovert, and come in and make those connections to the programs and invite. He's so great at inviting folks into the work of NBA. And so I'm so thankful for that. Without his leadership, I don't know that we'd be serving the kinds of new ministries that we are serving out there. Being open to, again, what is church today? What are health and social service ministries today? And inviting people like the women who began NBA and the women, I'm going to claim the women who moved through NBA over the century plus, asking what's happening at the doorstep, at your doorsteps, at the doorsteps of your church and your community, and how do you answer that call? I think he keeps asking that question of us, and that keeps us asking the question of what are the ministries that are out there that we can walk alongside and support.